E3 2017 brought a few surprises, one of which was a little VR game with a big personality. Hi, I'm Darian P. Mack with the Leaderboard, and today we're going to explore 7 facts about PlayStation's newest VR game, Moss. Don't forget to subscribe and then click that bell icon to become part of the notification squad. Moss is the brainchild of the developers at Polyarc, a brand new studio initially composed of ex-Bungie team members who worked on smash hits like Halo and Destiny. The Seattle-based startup focused specifically on virtual reality gaming. Moss is the studio's first major release since its launch in 2015. In March of 2016, the studio received an Epic Games Unreal Developer Grant specifically for Moss, though at the time audiences knew little about the game. Chris Adelson, Tam Armstrong, and Danny Bula founded Polyarc Studio. Alderson worked for several years at Bungie serving as a character art lead, while Armstrong led an animation and engineering team for Destiny. He left after 6 years with the company. Bula held the role as senior gameplay designer and worked with Bungie for 4 years after his work with Rockstar Games and Midway. The team admitted that leaving Bungie was a terrifying experience, but working from the ground up in a brand new studio brought a new level of intimacy that was vital to the Moss creation. In a unique take on development, the team approached the fundamentals of virtual reality gaming before coming up with a concept to fit their model. Since VR games are still considered new technology, most developers are reluctant to giving the medium a fair shot. This left Polyarc without previous successes to use as a reference. This conflict appears to have been both an advantage and a disadvantage for Moss creators. Between the relative high cost of VR equipment, plus the discomfort of virtual reality being that some players experience real motion sickness and physical instability, the development of Moss was challenged, particularly because VR games were not considered a financially viable product. Moss, on the other hand, was designed first with players' comfort in mind. In other words, the creators simply didn't want the game to cause confusion or motion sickness. Polyarc strived to build an emotional connection between players and the lead character, a mousy little heroine named Quill. This emphasis on player comfort, story, and environment launched Moss into the spotlight. In building such a special game, the team grew from 3 people to 15. On average, a member of Polyarc's team had about 10 years of experience in the gaming industry, with Moss serving to cement the studio's team. While Moss is available exclusively for PSVR, the team has expressed interest in bringing the magic of Moss to other platforms. However, for their first stint, the company revealed that PSVR was the best platform to experience gameplay, thanks to its ability to implement both hand and head tracking. The vast majority of the team had little to no experience creating games for virtual reality, with the exception of a few members who had approximately 6 weeks worth of training with the Oculus. One engineer, Brendan Walker, was able to utilize his familiarity with the visual user interfaces from his time with HitLab during the game's production. Armstrong also mentioned that due to the PSVR's larger display, the game could offer a more social experience, allowing people watching the player to participate in solving puzzles too. The vast majority of VR games use a first-person point of view, but Moss is different. Instead of playing the game through Quill's eyes, the player takes the role of an unnamed masked figure. It's essential to note that the player is a character, not a random standby shadowing the heroine. The team felt that to achieve full immersion, even in the third person, other characters in the game, not just Quill, should react as the player interacts with the environment. Using the game's design to encourage players to interact with the setting was the most challenging part of creating Moss. It was essential that objects in the environment convey their purpose to the player more intuitively than in traditional games. Because developers wanted to keep most of the interactions within arm's reach, developers also faced the challenge of having a limited amount of space to create puzzles. Typically, designers have a lot of room to work with when designing interactive parts of the environment, but Armstrong explained that the game's close quarters encouraged a lot of creative thinking. In seeking to build that emotional connection between players and the game, the team wanted the main character to be very small. Art director Chris Adelson sketched out several different versions of Quill before using a block model with lead animator Richard Lico. After finalizing Quill's proportions, she headed to what they termed the gray model stage. The gray model, the most important in Adelson's opinion, gave the team a trial and error period to see how Quill's body would behave in the game. They were able to make make changes before taking her form to a high polygon model to finalize textures. As Polyarc has its roots in action-adventure games, thanks to the founders' experience with Bungie, they sought to combine these ultra-familiar controls with intuitive VR controls. The goal was to make the game as easily accessible to players unfamiliar with VR mechanics. Since Moss allows players to delve into a storybook, there was no need to control a camera with the right analog stick. Instead, once a scene is completed, the sound of page turning signifies a move to the next scene. Players use the PS4's DualShock 4 to control Quill and interact with the environment. Fostering a relationship between the player and Quill is one of the most critical elements of gameplay. Quill is as lifelike as possible. Players can pick her up, pet her, even feel her heartbeat through controller vibrations. Although she's wary of the reader at the beginning of the game, a friendship quickly grows into a genuine partnership that is essential to completing the game. Quill's reactions to the environment, whether it's a warm and safe place or somewhere dark and scary, are explicitly designed to draw an emotional response from the player. So don't be surprised if you find yourself catching chills facing down some of Moss's biggest baddies. Quill will even give you a sassy look or two if you're taking your sweet time exploring a scene. The game currently clocks in at about 3 hours of gameplay for players who are into exploring, and 2 hours for players that prefer to cut to the chase. Moss is a puzzle-based game at its heart, and its puzzles have been likened to the Legend of Zelda series. So if you already have a knack for puzzle solving, you're in luck. Even though players might immerse themselves in these riddles, they shouldn't ignore their partner. Moss can be conquered through co-op, so if you find yourself stuck on a particularly hard puzzle, lean in toward Quill to see her take on the matter. Quill lives in this world after all, and Polyarc has noted that she knows a bit more than the players do about how to navigate it, so trust her instincts. And watch out for forage screecher enemies. One may be easy enough to beat, but they like to attack in groups. Players keep only one of these enemies at bay while Quill handles the rest. While Quill might not be your average field mouse, she lacks certain anthropomorphic features like the ability to speak. Mute though she may be, the developers ensured that she'd still be able to communicate through nonverbal cues, squeaks, and even sign language. Before Moss's release, animation director Richard Lico posted a short gif of Quill signing, "Nice to meet you, my name is Quill," in American Sign Language. Since no one on the developer team is fluent in ASL, Lico wanted to make sure Quill's usage was correct. The team received an exceedingly positive response. Lico has since explained that due to Quill's size, she will not spell words out with her hands, as they're too small to read consistently. However, Quill's use of ASL will include broader gestures like emotional responses and hints to puzzles throughout the game. As a result, the game has a special dimension for players fluent in ASL, and gives all players the opportunity to learn a new skill. Another fun fact, in her first iteration, our mousy heroine was a grumpy old man mouse. We're pretty glad that the final version of Quill's a bit kinder and more willing to help. It appears that the role of grumpy old man fell to her uncle and mentor Argus. Moss has enjoyed a very positive reception from the beginning of its development. The veteran team behind it may have had something to do with its early support, and Polyarc's first game looks like it's going to be a home run. Moss has certainly been picking up steam since the official trailer release at E3 in 2017. Critics lauded the game for standing out even in the midst of big-name titles during Sony's presentation, calling the game charming, adorable, and magical. Moss took away a win as E3's best VR game and a nomination for the best of E3 2017. The game is being heralded as a VR darling, with praise for its excellent storytelling and accessibility with a low price point of $30. The game's demo was swept up by various YouTubers for Let's Plays, with many critics applauding the game's innovative storytelling. So that leaves us with only one question: what will Polyarc come up with next? Once again, I'm Darian P. Mack with the Leaderboard, and thanks for watching 7 Facts About Moss. Are you gonna pick it up? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to click that bell icon to become part of our notification squad. And if you like getting more out of your games, be sure to subscribe to the Leaderboard, your home for video game facts.